Labour has been accused of handing an amnesty to tens of thousands of asylum seekers after scrapping the Rwanda scheme. James cleverly hit out as Yvette Cooper, his successor as Home Secretary, announced the deterrent had been ditched. Ms. Cooper told MPs she would reverse part of former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Illegal Migration Act. The legislation has barred anyone arriving in the UK illegally since March 2023 from being granted asylum, with these people earmarked for removal to the East African nation. The Refugee Council estimates that between 60,000 and 90,000 people will be granted asylum despite entering the country illegally. Writing in the Daily Express, Mr. Cleverly warned that Britain is sleepwalking into a nightmare of small boats crossings this summer. The crisis has already got worse since Labour came to power, Mr. Cleverly says, with official figures showing nearly 1,500 migrants arrived in the UK on small boats across the Channel in the last week. Labour has started the long march back to the European Union, with a migration deal the first thing on the table, he warns. The last thing hard-working Brits need is more migrants. Labour's approach to illegal migration was ridiculed as whack-a-mole in the Commons on Monday, while Ms. Cooper was urged to show some backbone over tackling the problem. But the Home Secretary told MPs the Rwanda scheme had been a costly con that had cost British taxpayers £700 million, with a total of just 4 volunteers sent there. She accused the previous Conservative government of creating an asylum hotel California, where people arrived in the system but never left. In a statement to MPs, Ms. Cooper claimed the Tories had planned to spend more than £10 billion over 6 years on the Migration and Economic Development Partnership, MEDP. And she warned that high levels of small boat journeys in the English Channel are likely to persist over the summer, blaming weak border control she said Labour had inherited from the previous administration. 2.5 years after the previous government launched it, I can report, the MEDP has already cost the British taxpayer £700 million in order to send just 4 volunteers, Ms. Cooper said. Over the 6 years of the MEDP forecast, the previous government had planned to spend over £10 billion of taxpayers' money on the scheme. They did not tell Parliament that. Those costs include £290 million paid to Rwanda, chartering flights that never took off and detaining hundreds of people and then releasing them, she said. Ms. Cooper warned that cooperation with European police forces was too limited and more needed to be done to tackle people smuggling upstream long before the boats reached the French coast. I'm extremely concerned that high levels of dangerous crossings we have inherited are likely to persist through the summer, she said. Mr. Cleverly accused her of using made-up numbers and blasted the UK government for already making the problem worse. He told MPs, the reality is everybody knows, including the people smugglers, that the small boat problem is going to get worse, indeed has already got worse under Labour because they have no deterrent. He added, the fact there is now no safe third country to return people who cannot be returned home means that we ask, where is she going to send the people who come here from countries like Afghanistan or Iraq, in Syria? Has she started negotiations on returns agreements with the Taliban, or the Ayatollahs of Iran, or Assad in Syria? And if she's not going to send those that arrived here on small boats to Rwanda, which local authorities will she be sending people to? We were closing hotels when I was in government and I wonder which local authorities will be receiving those asylum seekers if not Rwanda. Will it be Rochdale or Romford or Richmond? Speaking in the Commons, Reform UK Deputy Leader Richard Tice warned, if you smash one gang, it's like a game of whack-a-mole, another one will appear. He added, here's the point, how long will you give your policy, Home Secretary, before realizing the only policy that will work is the policy that you actually started last week, which is to pick up and take back to France, which we're entitled to do under international maritime law. Fellow Reform UK MP Lee Anderson urged Ms. Cooper to grow a political backbone and order the Border Force to send the boats back the same day. It comes as Home Office figures showed nearly 1,500 migrants had arrived in the UK on small boats across the Channel in 1 week. Some 1,499 people made the journey in 27 boats from July the 15th to the 21st, while the French Coast Guard confirmed 2 people died amid rescue operations off the northern French coast. The Maritime Prefecture also said on Sunday that a further 71 migrants were saved in the channel, but that some travelers on the boat who were not requesting assistance were allowed to continue the journey.